let's just quickly move on to our last speaker, Mr. A.J. Philip. I'll just give you a very short introduction. He is a veteran journalist with 51 years of experience in the profession, as I said right in the beginning, and he has held senior editorial positions at prestigious publications including the Tribune, the Indian Express, and the Hindustan Times. During his extensive career, he has written over 10,000 editorials, thousands of articles, hundreds of obituaries, and book reviews. He serves as visiting faculty at Indraprastha University in Delhi and has delivered lectures at numerous institutions including Delhi University, Punjab University, uh, Jamia Millia, Aligarh Muslim University, and Himachal University. Mr. Philip has maintained a column in the Indian Currents, which, by the way, Father Nair is editing, for more than 30 years, making it his longest running contribution to a publication. Currently, he writes editorials for the Free Press Journal in Mumbai. He has authored and translated several books into English language, and he serves as the president of the Kerala Club in New Delhi, which was founded in 1939, and as treasurer of the Delhi Diocese of the Marthoma Syrian Church. He was the first director of Pratichi India Trust, founded by Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, and we would like to invite Mr. A.J. Philip to speak on the topic of Voices of Change, Architects of Indian Journalism.
Yeah, thank you for the nice words said about me. And thank you also the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and we also, I hope you finish by 16 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So actually what had happened was, Father Gaurav Nair and Dr. Merlin Gracie have already covered, most of what I wanted to say. So I would not, like to, repeat some of these so that the PP PowerPoint presentation may not actually reflect what I'm going to say. So having said this, let me go back a little into history. How did journalism begin? Journalism began in the 16th century as a result of the Puritanism in Britain. Who are the Puritans? Puritans were people. They were members of the Church of England who believed that the church had a lot of Catholic influence and they need to be removed. And they wanted Bible as the authority. So they began to protest against the establishment in the church. And when they protested it, they were expelled from the church. So they were denied pulpit. They were no longer able to speak in the church. So what they did was they brought out small pamphlets expressing their opinion. And in due course, these pamphlets became small newspapers. And when they found that the Puritans found that they could not practice their religion in England, many of them went to the United States. And wherever they went, they started small. They started a school or a school and also newspapers, and that is how journalism, began in the 16th century. And coming to India, it started with the arrival of with the publication of the Bengal Gazette in 1780. This was the first newspaper in India. Bengal Gazette was published by James Augustine Hickey. It was a very interesting newspaper. Interesting in the sense that it did not fight shy of criticizing the government. And the East India Company did not like this newspaper because they were criticizing corruption. They were highlighting corruption in the government. They were criticizing the government. So this newspaper was abolished in 1782. That is just 2 years after the publication. So within 2 years, this paper made a huge impact on the conscience of the people in Calcutta and elsewhere. Then what had happened was there was no newspaper worth the name for about 36 years. Finally, it was in 1818 that Friend of India, as already been mentioned, was published. If you go to the Statesman newspaper and open the editorial page, you will find at the top, it is written, directly descended from the friend of India, established in 1818. So this newspaper was I can say, the first proper newspaper in India. Very interestingly, William Carey, who founded it, who was the editor, he wrote the first editorial in the newspaper to ask for the abolition of sati. So the first editorial he wrote in the newspaper was for abolition of sati, and he took it as a personal issue. He kept on using the journal to demand abolition of sati. And finally, when sati was abolished, the responsibility of publishing the news, the responsibility of publishing the Gazette was given to the Saharanpur press. And William Carey took 2 days to complete the translation of the proclamation into various Indian languages. And why he did so was he feared that under pressure the government may withdraw the proclamation. So what he did was he did not go to the church on a Sunday, and that was the first time that he skipped a Sunday because he wanted to publish the proclamation in as many Indian languages as possible. That is how sati was abolished. Unfortunately, whenever you read about abolition of sati, his name is not at all mentioned. Instead, Raja Ram Mohan Roy's name is always mentioned. That is all right, but the point is that he always in a campaign for it. I had been to Saharanpur, and I found it when I went there, I went there by car, and it took me about 4 hours to reach Saharanpur from Calcutta, and another 4 hours to return. I wondered, how William Carey used to teach in Fort Williams. He used to teach Sanskrit. There was no Sanskrit teacher. He was the Sanskrit teacher. Fort William was the institute where British administrators were trained. So he was teaching there. And I wondered, how this gentleman was able to, travel at that time in the 19th century, how he was able to travel every day, commute every day between Calcutta and Saharanpur. When I went there, I found out the reason. I found out, how he was able to manage. Because of, Saharanpur is situated on the bank of the river Hooghly. Hooghly is the same Ganga. It is known as Hooghly when it reaches Calcutta. The river, when there is high tide in the sea, the river flows backwards. And so sometimes, it flows backwards, and sometimes it flows forward. So what he would do, he would wait for the time when there is high tide and the river flows back. That is the time when he will return back to Saharanpur. That he was able to and as you know, the British did not approve of the missionaries. They did not want the missionaries in India. That was because their intention was to make money, interested in making money. So when they found that the missionaries were coming, they were scared. So they did not allow William Carey and 2 of his friends to land in Calcutta. So then he found that, there is a place, Saharanpur, which was under Danish control. So he went there and started the Saharanpur mission, and which it played a pioneering role in publishing newspapers, in translating books, in development of grammar, in many ways. It transformed the publishing business in this country. I must also say that, take any language, whether it is Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Gujarati, Oriya, or Assamese, or any other language, Urdu, Hindi, you will find that all the first newspapers or journals in these languages were published by the missionaries. And not only that, as already my friend has mentioned, Dr. Marlene Gracie has mentioned, all the first grammar books, first dictionaries were all published by the missionaries. When I came to Delhi, what most was a statue in Delhi, New Delhi. Many of those who have visited Dharamurti is a statue which shows Mahatma Gandhi with 10 followers during the Dandi March. This is the Salt Satyagraha. There is a Hindu There is a Sardarji, there is a Muslim, there are women, there are rich people, poor people, all are included in this 10 people who are accompanying Mahatma Gandhi. Among them, there was one Christian, and he is a priest. What I noticed was that this priest is the bulkiest of the lot. And I was wondering, who this person is. So I began to do a little bit of research to find out who this priest who was with Mahatma Gandhi during the Dandi Satyagraha. Then I found out that then somebody told me that this priest could be C.F. Andrews, who was a priest who used to teach in St. Stephen's College in Delhi, and he was a friend of Mahatma Gandhi. Perhaps he was that man. So then I began to search for his photograph, and I found that C.F. Andrews was a lean and thin person. He could not have been depicted there. Then I found out that there was one Christian who accompanied Mahatma Gandhi ji. And in the Salt Satyagraha, when it began in Ahmedabad, there were only 78 members accompanying Mahatma Gandhi. And out of the 78 members, there was one Christian, and his name was Titus G. That is how he was there. So, because the artist Ram Kinkar could not find a person to represent Christians, so he thought that he would put a priest there and show him as a representative of the Christian community. The point I wanted to make was that in the freedom struggle, it is often mentioned that the Christians did not take part in the freedom struggle. In the freedom struggle, the Christians took a pioneering role also. And I also wanted to bring your attention to a great satyagraha in Kerala called Vaikam Satyagraha. Vaikam Satyagraha was begun by the Congress party at that time. And the reason was that, people, particularly the lower caste people, were not allowed to walk on the road around the Shiva temple in Vaikam. So there was a protest. The protest was not for entry into the temple. The protest was to allow the people to walk on the public road. When the protest began, the protest continued for about a year. And at that time, the Congress party, KPCC in Kerala, the Congress party, Kerala Congress Committee was led by one George Joseph. And it is very significant that I mention it. And so as the protest began, initially Mahatma Gandhi was not in favor of the Vaikam Satyagraha. And when the agitation began, people were taking, people were courting arrest one by one. Every day, a group of people would court arrest. So George Joseph wrote a letter to Mahatma Gandhi. He sent a telegram asking asking for his permission to lead the Satyagraha one day and to court arrest. Then Mahatma Gandhi sent a reply telegram saying that since you are a Christian, you need not take part in it. This is a Hindu issue. And actually, it was not a Hindu issue because the people were demanding the right to walk on the public road. So in any case, by the time Mahatma Gandhi's telegram came, George Joseph had courted arrest and he was in jail. Of course, he was released. But George Joseph got disillusioned with the treatment that he got from Mahatma Gandhi, that he left Congress, he left politics, and he continued to live as a legal practitioner in Kerala. George Joseph had a brother. His name was Pothan Joseph. Pothan Joseph was a pioneering journalist in India. Pothan Joseph was well known for his column, Over a Cup of Tea. It was a column that he used to write every day. He was associated with nearly 26 newspapers, and he was closely associated with Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and Motilal Nehru, and Annie Besant. So he was a very formidable journalist, and he was the brother of George Joseph. Pothan Joseph had at various points of time edited 26 newspapers in the country, including the Dawn of Pakistan. At that time, Dawn was published from India. And there is a very interesting story about him. Once he wrote an editorial, and the Viceroy did not like it. So the Viceroy sent a letter criticizing him and asking him to make amends. So Pothan Joseph wrote a reply And in the reply, he said, with reference to your above, please see my below. That was the kind of journalist he was. He was a very bold man. And this another contribution that he made to Indian journalism was that he found talent in cartooning, and he was the one who introduced this cartoonist Shankar, and that was he is considered the father of Indian cartooning. He was also a contribution of this person. There are many Christians who played huge role in journalism. To name just one is Bublik George Varghese. He was the editor of Hindustan Times. He was also press advisor to Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. And when Sikkim was annexed, Sikkim was made part of India on May 16, 1975. He wrote a thunderous editorial in the Hindustan Times, and the title of the editorial was Kanchenjunga, Here We Come. And in the article, he concluded the editorial with one sentence. He said, if it is not outright annexation, it comes close to it. And he had to pay a heavy price for it. He had to lose his job. And he had to lose his job. That is what had happened to him. Of course, then there is another, great journalist, Christian journalist, T.J.S. George. T.J.S. George was a person who was the editor of the Searchlight in Patna. While he was editor, he used to write a column, and the column antagonized the chief minister so much that he was put in jail. He was in jail, and V.K. Krishnamanan, who was friendly to him, he air dashed to Patna. He appeared before the court and argued his case, and he had to be released. This T.J.S. George was the person who set up, Asia Week, a magazine from Hong Kong, and later on he edited the New Indian Express for a while, and now he is leading a retired life. He is also a famous journalist. Similarly, there are many Christians in the media who have played a significant role in journalism. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, all the newspapers in India were started by the Christians. Now, coming to medical and education field, it goes without saying that education was earlier also there were great scholars in India, but that at that time they believed that in the knowledge should not be dispersed; it should be kept within a particular group. And the Christians, were the first to promote dissemination of knowledge, and that is how the education movement. Incidentally, William Carey, first thing that he did in Serampore was not to start a newspaper, but to start a school. Similarly, that is why in Kerala, the word for school was always, Pallikudam. It was not Vidyalaya. Vidyalaya came into being only recently. Earlier it was Pallikudam because there was a Catholic priest. He was Father Chavara. He published a directive asking all the churches under his control to start a school. Every church should have a school. So school, Pallikuda, means that which is attached to the church. Similarly, in the medical field also, you look for any place, where the first medical hospital was started. You will find that, it was all started by the missionaries. For instance, recently I was studying, and I found out that Akbar the Great had a Christian wife. And he married her when she was only 13 or 14 years old. But she had this Christian wife had a medical doctor sister, and it was she who started a medical hospital in Agra at that time. So hospitals were also considered, where Christians were pioneers in that. When it comes to legal, for instance, how many people know that the first judge in India first woman judge in India was Anna Chandi, and she was the first judge, and she retired as judge of the Kerala High Court. So whatever be the field, Christians had played a major significant role. Whether it is similarly at one time, about 90% of the leprosy hospitals or leprosy homes were run by Christians, who are only 2.5% of the population. So Christians have played a significant role in all the fields of this country, and that is something which we need not be ashamed of. I would also like to mention how there is a famous temple proclamation, a temple entry proclamation in Kerala. It was it was in Travancore, which was part of it was a princely state, where the Maharaja issued a proclamation allowing the Dalits to hinder Hindu temples. How did this happen? There is a small place in Kerala called Kolanjeri. If you go to Kolanjeri, you will find in the middle of the road a small statue of a person called C. Kesavan. C. Kesavan is famous for his speech called Kolanjeri Prasangam or Kolanjeri speech. And what did he say in the speech? He said that Elavas are the majority community in Kerala. If the Elavas are not given recognition, if they are not given jobs in the government, if they are not given their due respect, if they are not given representation in the government, they will must convert to Christian religion. He made this threat, and within no time, the threat had an effect on the government. The government got worried, and Sir CP was the Diwan at that time, and he got the proclamation issued allowing entry of the Dalits into temples. And this was a great proclamation. Of course, it took many years for the Dalits to enter the temples, particularly like the temple in Guruvayur. That apart, this had a great effect on other states also, and all over the country. It resulted in a movement which allowed Dalits to have right to worship in the Hindu temples. Now, the point I wanted to make was that Christians have played a significant role. Today, they are being questioned. Today, people are questioning their authority. Today, people are asking, many questions about them, and their contributions are not even mentioned. And on the contrary, they are being vilified as only people who are trying to convert people. Yes, some people were converted, but when Christians ruled or the British ruled India for nearly 200 years, the aim was not to convert. If the aim was to convert, then there would have been a larger number of people, even today. So that is why I say that Christians have played a major role in all the socio-economic fields of this country. And unfortunately, they are not being valued for what they have done to this country. Thank you.
Indian Christian Day. Yeshu Bhakti Divas. Love, serve and celebrate.